Tonight, South Australia's Energy Minister visits the Eyre Peninsula and legal action considered against Broken Hill City Council.
With the latest from around the region, your nightly news with Louise Hedger begins now.
Good evening. The South Australian Government is hoping to lead the world in renewable energy with its first 1,000 customers signing up to its virtual power plant scheme. The state's Energy Minister visiting homeowners and councils today on the Eyre Peninsula.
Storing power and saving hundreds on electricity bills. Over 1,000 South Australian Housing Trust properties across the region installed with solar panels and Tesla batteries, all part of a state government initiative. The virtual power plant scheme saving Teresa Morrison around 30% of her power bill.
When the power actually goes out, I'll still be able to access power to the house, which is a fantastic thing.
Teresa signed up to Virtual Power Plant 11 months ago. The solar panels collecting energy throughout the day, then storing it in the battery, with real-time information sent to her phone.
I can access an app, a Tesla app, and be able to check what's going in from the solar and what's going through to the house, also how much is going into the battery.
The system is part of the government's plan to transform the state into the world's largest virtual power plant, connecting 50,000 homes around the state, all working together to supply the region's energy.
When those batteries are full, the surplus electricity goes to other households, which reduces prices for all other electricity consumers as well.
The next stage for the scheme will be rolling it out to thousands of other households across the region.
We're very, very keen to do, and we move on now to opening up to the much broader community to make sure that everybody gets these opportunities.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Regional South Australia is experiencing a tourism boom with visitor numbers growing at 15% compared with Adelaide's 8% growth. The popularity seeing the tourism industry now worth a record $7.2 billion.
South Australia is paying tourism dividends, with the state breaking a new record in the amount of money generated through the industry.
A record $7.2 billion has been spent with tourists visiting South Australia. That is an outstanding result.
Regional South Australia proving to be a heavy hitter, with a growth rate of 15%, 6% more than our city neighbours. Next year's target's expected to be even bigger, with the addition of new food and wine festivals, cruise liner visits and new brewery and restaurant openings in the York and Mid-North regions.
What I can say is that the regions are the jewel in the crown in South Australia's tourism industry.
Port Perry's tourism manager says the region is enjoying its own boom through all the high-profile sporting events coming to town.
Since January, we've had regional swimming championships, an AFL showdown, an SANFL showdown, the return of the Masters Games after a 7-year absence.
The region experiencing further growth in interstate visitors and citygoers leaving Adelaide for a quiet weekend in the country.
What we're seeing is a rise in numbers. Obviously, the tourists and grey nomads are back on the road again.
The government hopes to increase the target into next year.
What our goal is to drive the visit economy to new heights, and we remain committed to achieving our target by 2020 of $8 billion.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Australia's newly appointed Assistant Minister for Fisheries has visited Port Lincoln this week to meet with representatives from local fishing industries. It's the first stop for the Minister in his national tour since taking on the top job.
On a mission to better understand South Australia's fishing industry. 2 months into his new role, Jonathan Dunham is getting to work.
Our government is committed to making sure we support regional communities, support the businesses that drive the economies and create the jobs. That's what this tour is about.
The Minister arriving in Port Lincoln to listen to the concerns businesses are raising around the industry.
We've got to deal with demand issues. We've got some very strong trade relations with nations like Japan when it comes to the tuna fishery.
Port Lincoln exports around 9,000 tonnes of its famed tuna a year, with Japan being its biggest market. The Minister says he wants to work closely with industries to foster better market options.
And making sure they know we have the best product, most sustainably managed and the best brand available that they should be purchasing.
Rowan Ramsey says it was an important step the minister visited the region, with 90% of the national tuna quota sourced in Port Lincoln.
As one of the most important industries in South Australia, or indeed in Australia, the aquaculture and fishing industry out of Port Lincoln, I was very keen to get him here early up.
Port Lincoln is Mr Dunham's first stop in his national tour around the country, aiming to strengthen ties with industries and businesses.
I want to hear firsthand what they think we can do to enhance the operations of their businesses to create more jobs in these communities where jobs are needed most.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The United Services Union is considering legal action against Broken Hill City Council over what it believes to be an unfair dismissal case. One industrial officer claims a former council employee's termination is unacceptable.
A war of words. The United Services Union calling for the reinstatement of a council employee it believes was unfairly dismissed.
I don't think there's sufficient evidence there to justify a termination. There's been no formal processes of performance management that have taken place.
It's understood the former city worker had raised a health and safety concern over working excessive hours and receiving no compensation. The union claims the extra work was a result of an understaffed team and a significant backlog of work. The employee was at the end of a 6-month probation. Council saying the worker was let go during a routine probation review.
Approximately 6 to 7 days following him raising some concerns about hours of work and so forth, coincidentally his employment was terminated.
Council says the dispute is disappointing and regrettable, but that internal investigations did not reveal evidence the staff member was sacked for raising a safety concern. The General Manager says he is comfortable with Council's decision and will defend its position.
At this stage we're looking to file applications both in the New South Wales Industrial Relations Commission for an unfair dismissal claim on behalf of our member, and we're also looking at our options in regards to the breach of the Local Government Act.
The union says it will decide on its next move within the next week. Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, a call out to park rangers with volunteer positions opening soon, and a university campus at Port Augusta welcomed by potential students. Welcome back. The Department for Environment and Water is calling for more helping hands in national parks as part of a new volunteer ranger program. Around 100 volunteers are needed across the state to keep our natural wonders in top condition.
For Tony Magor, a 9-to-5 career in the office was no option. With a passion for the outdoors, he signed up for a job that would see him get out and about almost every day.
I've been involved with parks for about 16 and a half years.
And he hasn't turned back from the challenge of being a ranger ever since.
Days that it's fantastic, you're out there talking with people, you're looking after the land, but there are the downsides as well.
And now a new volunteer program is giving 100 wannabe rangers the opportunity to help out in the national parks.
It's basically someone who's got a passion for the environment and conservation and our parks.
They will assist paid staff across the state.
They can be out helping maintaining our infrastructure, talking with the public, walking trail maintenance.
It comes off the back of funding for 20 new paid rangers across the state, including a new position in the Ikara Flinders Rangers.
The combination of our full-time park ranger force and these additional volunteers will give us increased capacity to provide a good visitor experience.
A trial will begin in October at the Morialta and Innes National Parks before being rolled out to other locations. The volunteers playing a key role in maintaining their beauty.
Assistance will be invaluable to help protect these national treasures.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Melbourne band The New Savages is set to hit the Eyre Peninsula this weekend with a one-off performance in Port Lincoln. The indie blues band set to bring a unique sound of country music and gospel to the Beer Garden Brewery tomorrow afternoon. The event is part of South Australia's Guitars in Bars Festival, with over 1,000 artists performing across the state. For more information, visit the festival's website. Activists in the Upper Spencer Gulf are calling for better treatment of refugees on the Manus Island Detention Centre, with today marking 6 years since the facility opened. Compassion and Justice for Refugees says it is the only group of its kind in regional South Australia.
We're campaigning to assist refugees to settle happily in Australia. But since there's been offshore detention, it's really been hard.
Whyalla member Justin Hart recently wrote lyrics about the treatment of refugees, which placed fourth in a national songwriting competition. New figures have revealed 67% of Port Augusta students want to study university locally. Conducted by UniHub, the survey is creating anticipation for the Education Centre, which is planning to open its doors in the town next year.
Forget the university 300 kilometres down the road. Port Augusta students will soon have a new study option on their doorstep.
What we're targeting is that people won't have to travel to study and they can get educated at home and stay home.
Fresh off the success of UniHub's inaugural semester in Port Pirie, there are plans to open classrooms next year in Port Augusta.
And we have 4% of people who actually attend uni in our area compared to 16% in our national population, so it's a great opportunity.
A survey of 190 students in years 10, 11 and 12 found an overwhelming majority would consider studying locally. Mayor Brett Bembo says it could also act as a pathway for mature-aged professionals.
There's a lot of people that currently hold professional status that want to increase their studies and do further education.
A variety of course options are aiming to target skills shortages in the Spencer Gulf region.
Education, psychology, engineering, arts, allied health, medical sciences.
Local industry also crying out for more skilled professionals ahead of a promising jobs forecast.
Right now they have about 214 vacancies, and in the next 10 years there'll be over 500.
The next question, where will the UniHub set up shop?
Just finalising the agreements on that. We are doing an official launch in the first week of September and we'll be announcing the location.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Port Pirie's renowned baker Bears Bakery has taken home second prize for its mud cakes in a national competition. The local business has held gold for 3 years running, but this year has taken home silver in the Baking Association of Australia Awards.
Now I've got a challenge, so there's definitely a challenger out there. The last couple of years there was no comparison to our mud cake to other mud cakes.
For those who prefer a savoury option, the bakery also won second place for its white bread loaf in the apprentice section. The South Australian Living Art Festival is set to hold its grand opening in Port Pirie this August. To mark the event, an hour-long projection by a team of artists and technicians will screen digital stories on the Port Pirie silos. It's set to include digital stories featuring local artists, the town history and its natural riches.
We've been told by so many different artists of different visual mediums that landscape of those silos is just the most impressive canvas they could possibly work on.
The showcase is set to kick off at 6 o'clock on the 2nd of August. Stay with us after the break, Burra to receive a new skate park, and Britt will join us with the weekend weather. Hello again. Burra's skate park is set for a makeover, with the area receiving a new regional space. The area is set to incorporate natural trails, a bike track and additional facilities. The council is planning to use a $232,000 grant from the South Australian Government to complete the project. The recreational space is expected to open in December of next year. Trot trainers in Broken Hill will next season be given the chance to race for $1 million. Harness Racing New South Wales is encouraging local trainers to get their entries in for the new competition.
It's the $1 million pace race.
When we talk about every participant in New South Wales, we're not only talking about the city, we're talking about everywhere, and Broken Hill is part of our community.
The 25-race series will commence in Broken Hill at the start of May, with the winners of the 2 heats to progress to the next round.
I think at the end of the day, the way they've structured, they've made it really enticing to everybody that would perhaps sort of have a horse that they think might have an opportunity to be able to go all the way.
The pace can be compared to a knockout competition. The winners of the 2 Broken Hill heats will then run in Dubbo for a spot in the quarterfinals. Win in Bathurst and participants earn a spot in the final and a chance at the $1 million. With additional consolation and other prize money, there's almost $1.5 million up for grabs.
You'd like to think that you can get an opportunity to race for $1 million per se. tried to win a couple million tonight, but that didn't last night, but that didn't happen.
The series is open to state-trained pacing horses 4 or more years old, with national rating points up to 70. Harness Racing New South Wales says it's all about trainers and owners getting a chance to share in the big prize pool. Patrick Ryankey, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Now let's hear from the experts with this week's footy tips.
Hello and welcome to round 11 of SGL football. After a week off for the country championships, it's back to club footy. We start this round with South taking on West at Port Augusta's Central Oval, while at Etzer Oval it'll be Central's hosting Sully. I'm tipping South over West and Sully's to take the points over Central. In Piri, it's the Lions facing Port at Memorial Oval. I'm tipping the Lions in this one.
Welcome to Port Lincoln Footy Tips and round 10. All teams have had a couple of weeks off, so should be fighting and fresh this weekend. We kick things off at Centenary Oval, where Waybacks are hosting Mallee Park. Mallee Park have been in some red-hot form before the break. I'm tipping Mallee Park to win this one by 5 goals. In the next game, we've got Boston's hosting Tasmans at Poole Oval. I'm tipping Tasmans to win this one, and win this one by a lot. In the last game, we've got Marlborough Range hosting Lincoln South out at Wongaree. I'm tipping Marlborough Range to put in a strong performance and win this one by 5 goals.
Round 10 of football in Broken Hill sees a fascinating game between South and North at Alma Oval. These two teams, traditional rivals now for over 10 years. Mark Purcell returns to the South team after being an outstanding performer for Northern Zone in last week's South Australian Country Championships. The Bulldogs travel to South's home ground. I'm picking the Roos to win. Not much, 10 points. Central have had a terrible year on the field. They've lost so many players. They take on a resurgent West outfit at Jubilee Oval. West will win and win easily. Winners for mine in Broken Hill this weekend: West over Central, South over North.
For a look at what the weekend weather has in store, here's Britt.
Thanks, Louise. Well, we've got a very windy day on the way tomorrow, but first let's take a look at today's conditions. It's been bright and sunny across the region with a little bit of cloud over Port Lincoln. Port Augusta warmed up to 21 degrees, Whyalla reached 20, Port Pirie 19, Broken Hill 18, Port Lincoln and Adelaide both 17. Skies remained mostly cloud-free today due to dry winds, but moving ahead to tomorrow on the waters, strong northerly winds at up to 30 knots with seas at 1 metre. And we'll see strong gusty winds over the region as well, reaching around 40 kilometres an hour at most parts, but up to 55 kilometres an hour at Whyalla. There'll be evening showers about the Eyre Peninsula and a possible late thunderstorm at Port Lincoln. A top of 24 degrees expected at Woodner, Port Augusta, Whyalla and Cleve all 23, Port Lincoln, Corn, Port Pirie and Adelaide 21, Coffin Bay and Kadina 20, with a top of 19 at Clare and Broken Hill. Those winds will ease by Sunday though, Port Lincoln expecting showers and a top of 16 before a rainy and windy start to next week. Cleve looking fine on Sunday with showers and wind Monday and Tuesday. Woodner fine on Sunday, looking sunny on Monday. Whyalla remaining fine Sunday through Tuesday, Port Augusta much the same with sunny conditions expected on Monday. Kadina looking fine on Sunday with showers to start the new week. Port Pirie and Clare both with showers on Sunday, a fine day on Monday. Broken Hill looking fine and partly cloudy on Sunday ahead of a sunny Monday. So take care with those strong winds about tomorrow, and with that, Louise, it's back to you.
Maybe leave the umbrella at home this weekend. Thanks for that, Britt. And that's your local news this Friday. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll have updates later, but until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.